All right, guys. So what hopefully you've got here, did you get all your angles measured? So there's 8 of them, right? And remember, we said that this line here, the way we constructed it with this ruler, is we used parallel lines A and B, and then this transversal T. And I didn't tell you guys which angles to use, right? Like how to make your angles. Did you guys get 107 for any of your angles? Or 73 for any of your angles? You didn't? Okay. But here's my question. Let's look at, do you guys remember alternate interior angles from last week? Alternate interior angles? So what are an example of alternate interior angles up here in my case? Angle 4 and angle what? What would be the alternate interior angle to angle 4? Yeah, angle 6, right? So remember, alternate means they have to be on different sides of the transversal. Interior means they have to be kind of between these other two lines. So alternate interior angles would be angles 4 and 6. We could also say angles, 3 and 5. Now, what do you notice about their measures? Like, what do you notice is true about the angle of measure 4 compared to the measure of angle 6? It's the same. What about the measure of angle 3 and the measure of angle 5? It is the same. So what I'm trying to tell you is this. If the lines are, I'll write this, if the lines are parallel, then these angles were congruent. Does that make sense? Did you guys kind of figure that out after you started measuring them? It's like once you started getting these done, you started noticing that those are the same. So if the lines are parallel, these angles are going to be congruent, right? If the lines weren't parallel, that wouldn't necessarily be true. Okay, in fact, it probably isn't true. So we got alternate interior. Let's do the other one that's similar to this. You guys remember this one? Alternate exterior angles. How are those different than what we just did? Yep, they're outside. So instead of being between these two lines, they're going to be outside lines A and B. So those would be like angles 1 and, what would be the alternate exterior angle to angle 1? Angle 7. And we'd also have angle 2 and angle 8. And what turns out to be true when those lines are parallel? Yep, they are the same. We call that congruent. If they're the same measure, we say that they are congruent. Okay, we say that they're congruent. That's the definition. Let's see here. What would be another one? Oh, remember this one? I'll just do them alphabetically. You guys remember corresponding angles? So that'd be like angle 1 and angle what? What's the corresponding angle to angle 1? Nope, not 6. 5. Now let me explain corresponding. Notice that up here, these 4 angles, angle 1 is the one that's kind of up and to the left. So then when you come down to this intersection, you want to pick the angle that's up and also to the left. That'd be angle 5. The other way to think about corresponding is, imagine if I could take line A and move it down perfectly on top of line B. Wouldn't angle 1 and angle 5 just literally be right on top of each other? They're corresponding. Okay. Let's do another example of and there's 4 pair of corresponding. Let's do. What about angle 7? Angle 7 and what are corresponding? Angle 7 and angle 3. You agree with that, Jennifer? Angle 7 and angle 3. Not sure? Okay, so here's angle 7, Jennifer. There's angle 7, which is kind of down and to the right. Now go up here to this intersection. What angle's down and to the right? Angle 3. Does that make sense? Okay. So those are corresponding angles. And if the lines are parallel, what do we see? They're the same, right? Angle 3 is 107 and angle 7 is 107. Another pair of corresponding angles are 4 and 8, and they're both 73. Okay. Now we got to keep in mind, you probably had to round your measures a little bit, right? You had to kind of guesstimate a little bit. It's kind of hard to measure them exactly. Your protractor actually is probably a lot more accurate than my protractor. Okay, there's one more kind of angles that we need to mention. I'll do that right here. Now I want to be very careful here because this one's a little different. In fact, that's actually this kind of nice how I wrote this because it's going to be a little bit different than the other ones. What is the same side interior for angle 3? What's the same side interior angle for angle 3? So it has to be on the same side of the transversal, and it has to be in between the lines A and B. So same side interior would be 3 and 6. What would be the, Jennifer, what would be the other pair of same side interior angles besides 3 and 6? Correct, 4 and 5. So those are our same side interior angles. Now, let's be careful. You see these two same side interior angles? Are they the same? No, they're not the same measure. Do you guys happen to know what 107 plus 73 is? Do you know what those two numbers added together is?
Wait, what?
107 plus 73? 180. Does anybody know what we call angles that add up to 180? Huh? Not right. Well, no, right's one angle that's 90 degrees. Starts with the letter S. Not, well, straight kind of works, but the word we typically use is, you guys remember this word? Now that I'm mentioning it, supplementary. So if the lines are parallel, then these, in fact, I'm going to put this in a separate box because this is the one that's a little bit different than the other ones. I'll put a little star with this one. The others, alternate interior angles turn out to be congruent if the lines are parallel. If the lines are parallel, alternate exterior angles are congruent. If the lines are corresponding, they're also congruent if the lines are parallel. But when they're same side interior, like these two guys or these two guys, and the lines are parallel, they are what we call supplementary. This is just a real quick review of section 3. I think this is 3.2, if I'm not mistaken, 3.2. Okay. Now here's the thing. I did not tell, what was the only requirement I gave you guys? I said make sure that these two lines are parallel, right? Do you think it was just coincidence that you guys got that, like, for example, that angle 1 and angle 7 was congruent? Do you think that was a coincidence? It's not a coincidence, right? That's why these theorems and postulates in section 3.2, these things are always true. If these two lines are parallel, I'm telling you, these two angles here, the alternate exterior angles, are always going to be congruent. Same thing for the alternate interior. Same thing for the corresponding. In fact, really, once you got one of these angles, you have them all, don't you? Like once you knew this is 107, what's this one got to be? Well, it's got to be 73 because these form a straight angle, which is a word you used a second ago, right? And if you know that's a straight angle, well, oh, these are vertical angles, so those have to be equal. And vertical angles are congruent. That's another theorem we've learned. Now, the difference, though, between what we've learned and what we're doing in this chapter is now we can now translate those ideas from this line all the way down to this line in those angles. Okay? All right, so I'm going to pause this.